Okay, we've got other stuff coming up today, but I'm going to introduce you to a woman who was very brave in doing what she did. Esther Herbert is her name. I've known her since she was 5 years old. Very often, I think, when you're a guy, you generally have guy friends, which I did. Played all the sports, did all the things you would think I would do. But she was always so close to me. We were always very, very close. So when she announced within this past year that she suffered from bipolar issues, mental illness, I can't tell you what that was like to hear that. She's going to explain her story as we delve into something very quite different on this show. And again, for me, after 30 years of doing this particular job, this is the first time I'll be interviewing a childhood friend, certainly under these circumstances. And it all starts with the Markham Stouffville Hospital. This is Esther in action, what she does best now. She spreads the word. And with Lloyd Robertson there as well and others, Esther Herbert gets up and tells her story. We talk to her after this.
You know, as it's been touched on today, finding a right dosage for what you have will take many tries and many combinations and a lot of work and a lot of teamwork between my doctor and myself. That's not just going to happen overnight. We found lithium to work best for me, and I have been on it faithfully for 17 years. Trust me when I say it's daunting to need people, isn't it? It's very difficult to reach out, and I think the most daunting is when it's at the workplace. So what I have found over the years is that the stigma is the highest there, and so I was determined to go back to the place I was handcuffed, back to the place I was let out, and I wanted to return to work to show myself and others that I am a competent person getting help. So 6 weeks later, I returned to that parking lot, just about to get out of the car, and who would be beside my door but Kathy, that same boss. She said, "I'm here to walk you in, girl." And I said, wow. Now that's supportive. That's amazing.
As is that story, as is my friend Esther Herbert. She joins us now in studio. Esther, at Atlets, which I will say publicly is what you don't know what she calls me, and maybe I don't want you to know. We have known each other for, I can't believe I'm saying this, 50 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
I remember when we... 50 years? Of the people that I've known in my lifetime, there's very few people closer than you and I.
Right.
So when you make that particular announcement, my jaw literally just hits the ground, and I think, how could I know a person for 50 years traveling together?
Yeah.
Every night she's talking to me, all the girl, this girl, she's doing this, I don't know what to do. She's like, first of all, find someone your own age. That'd be a great start. But we would sit there over coffees watching Leaf games, and lo and behold, she makes that announcement. And I'd have to think that in this circumstance, when you start talking about bipolar and mental illness, that maybe the most prevalent thing in all of that is the hiding, is the trying to keep others from not knowing what only they know. And so we bring Esther into the studio. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for coming in. I so much appreciate this, because I would think of the things that you've done in your life, and you are quite an amazing person. You've done a lot of things.
Thank you.
But this was something that I did not see coming.
I know you didn't see it coming. No one did. And it was something that was startling to me. When I knew there was something going on from the age of about 15 on, because I was trying to hide anything negative. I wanted everybody to be upbeat around me and happy and so forth. So I didn't really know there was anything wrong in high school, other than the fact I drank an awful lot.
See, this is what shocks me, and there's also sort of a backstory we need to tell. Your parents being staunch churchgoers,
Yes.
Missionary church, and of which you were part of the youth group. As I joined that, obviously a little late to the party, and they're like, "I'm not sure, guys, like you're supposed to be here," but real people of faith. And so this understanding that you had drinks at, when did you have your first drink?
Well, to tell you the honest truth, and we're hoping my mom isn't listening.
Yes,
yes, I would say 8 years old is when I had my first drink.
8 years old.
My older brother was having a party in the backyard, and there was lots of beer. So I thought, well, everybody's having beer. I'm going to try beer.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that was the beginning of being an alcoholic, because I went from there to just, drinking. When I went off to the U.S. and spent a lot of years there, I waited tables, and I would drink in the back wait station, vodka in a styrofoam cup. I would do that and then just go about working, doing the drinking at the same time.
But no one knew.
Nobody knew.
Not your friends that went to church, not I. So I'm going to, obviously, high school parties and having drinks. You did not do that publicly.
I did it secretly because I knew it'd be a humiliation to the folks, and I just thought it was wrong. And also, I had no idea I had bipolar, and a huge percentage of people that do have bipolar are alcoholics. So, I didn't realize any of this. And it wasn't until the year, if we're racing ahead here, till the year 2000, that's when I had this experience at work where I, had the complete break.
Now, you should explain, because they have not seen that. So take us to 2000, because when you're telling this story, Dave's looking at me because I'm watching it on my phone. He goes, who is that? I go, my childhood friend since kindergarten.
That's right.
And he goes, what is this story? Explain what happens in 2000.
Okay, so I had procured a great job. I loved it. It was independent. I was in charge of fossil watches, and I was my department. And as time went on, I was working later and later, and got in earlier and earlier, and I was just really caught up in that. Didn't have a clue anything was going on. But so that whole week, I was kind of obsessed with cleaning the bathroom at work. So I would go in, clean the sink, clean the walls, use toilet water of all things. And I would just do it. If anybody came in, I would stop, because I thought there, on some level, something was wrong. But then on that Friday of that particular week, which was April 7, 2000, I was really, really obsessed with it. And I left there after cleaning, went a short walk up the hallway to my boss's office, and she was not there. So I went in and I locked the door. I sat at her desk. I put my feet up. I really believed I'm boss for the day, and I'm just I answered the phone as Kathy, hi, what can I do for you? All that stuff. I didn't have a clue what was going on. So it just perpetuated throughout the office that, there's something wrong. We can't get in. The maintenance man was off, so he didn't have an extra set of keys.
So the door is still locked.
It's still locked.
And they're watching this show go on.
Yeah, they're outside. They're looking in, trying to look through the window, and they didn't know. They're pounding. They're calling, and I wouldn't open it for anything. Yeah. And I wasn't cognizant as to what was going on. Next thing I know, they had called the police, and the fire truck, ambulance, everything arrived. They broke into the office. They handcuffed me, and they took me down a long hall, it seemed, until we went out to an ambulance waiting to take me to Markham Stouffville Hospital. And I'll have to say that the people in retrospect were amazing. They took all of the staff and put them in the back warehouse so that nobody saw me being handcuffed and let out. Yeah. So I was very happy in the looking back on that. But I went off to Markham Stouffville, and the nurse that helped me that night said that we were giving you sedatives because you were so high. And she said, I've never given so many sedatives to anyone in my 20-year nursing career, because I was so up there. So finally came down, met Dr. Mark Berber. He diagnosed me with bipolar. I had never been diagnosed with that. I was misdiagnosed with depression before many times because I exhibited depression. But if you give antidepressants to a person that's bipolar, it can make it worse. That's what happened with me.
So it's misdiagnosed.
Misdiagnosed over and over. And bless their hearts, they tried. They were just seeing that. Nobody saw the highs. Nobody asked me about the highs. So I'm a big proponent of saying, ask the questions, because I was never asked, do you ever have super highs? I would have said yes, and the super lows, and they would have put it together. But Dr. Mark Berber did. He put me on medication. It takes weeks to get that regulated. But then after that, I thought, okay, I've got bipolar. I'm medicated. I'm an alcoholic sober, because I'm 26 years without alcohol, which is a wonderful thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Seriously, and you're Mike Richards' friend?
Yes, and we're still friends. So without the alcohol and the medication, I was fine. 17 years goes by. I didn't tell anybody but a tiny circle of friends. My current boss, my best friend, just a few.
Sure.
But then they asked me if I would talk at Bipolar Days at Markham Stouffville Hospital. And I thought, yes, what an opportunity. So I spoke October of last year, and that was
And
the
spoke very well, by
Yeah,
the way.
and it was
thank
extra-
you.
it was great.
Tremendous.
Thanks.
Tremendous.
Thank you.
Tremendous.
So the first time doing that was so exciting, and now I've kicked off a run in Unionville talking about bipolar. I've been in 2 magazine articles, and now I'm on the Mike Richards show. Woo! I mean, this is the pinnacle.
There you go. We are in conversation with Esther Herbert. She's talking about her issue with mental illness, bipolar, and I think sometimes because we hear those words, sometimes we really maybe still don't quite understand, which is why you do what you do. So if you take us back into those high school years, which I would have seen you basically every single day, and I knew nothing. She was always upbeat, always like, here comes good old Ed, right?
It was well hidden,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly, Dave.
Yeah.
So what was the indicator as a teenager? What was saying to you that you weren't right? What were the feelings? What goes through a teenager's mind who, for all of us, is a big enough struggle to begin with? But what is it that you didn't recognize or you thought was different that, say, you wouldn't tell someone like myself or any of your close friends or a brother or a sister or your mom? What is it that you were hiding? What happens?
Well, I had a lot of thoughts that I thought were kind of normal for me, but I'd check with other friends and they weren't. Like I would be racing thoughts, and it's hard to describe that because you're just thinking about 6, 7, 8 thoughts at once, and you're trying to filter that down. And if you can't, you get anxious and agitated. So I drank, to calm myself on that.
So is that self-medicating? Is
Very
that what
much.
that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I did a lot of that. And, I also believed that people didn't really want to be around me unless I was upbeat, So I thought I'll be a chameleon. I'll be whatever anybody wants.
Sure.
At, the lunch tables at SDSS, I would be at any one of them and feel comfortable. I mean, the geeks and the nerds and the band and the jocks. I mean, I'd visit them all,
Right.
And I thought this is the way you're going to be successful. So unfortunately, when you do that, you just have mask after mask.
Yeah.
And the authentic Esther was not there. And, I would be as much as I could be myself in front of you, but still you're hiding back because you don't want to be rejected. You don't want somebody to say, oh, you're really strange. I don't want to be a part of you, right? That's the key to any teenager, I think, is they want to have a clique. They want to have a group. They want to feel like they're in there, right? And so I tried to be a bit of everything. But then in that, you lose yourself.
Right.
Well, I mean, and again, I look at what you're doing now, and you are a person of faith. So we talked to Jerry Organ the other day, who famous place kicker for the Rough Riders, and we got into a discussion about, well, you find yourself in a place that you didn't choose, but maybe it was chosen for you.
Very good.
Right? So I think that what you're doing now truly is God's work.
Thank you.
Because, and I'm sure you feel deep down, not only as someone who's suffered from these instances, but as a Christian person, that this is the right thing to do, and maybe this is your calling.
Well, people say, you're so brave. And I'm thinking, well, I appreciate that. And I always say thank you. I mean, you want to be kind that way. But my path is chosen. I believe, that God really wants me to tell people it's okay, that you can get help, talk about it. There's somebody out there that loves you and is concerned about you. And I mean, if you don't have that, find a professional. I mean, there's some way you can get some help. But my faith is the thing that keeps me going. It gives me great strength. It used to be something I wasn't familiar with, and I thought it was rules and regulations. For me, it's a relationship. And it's just the most wonderful thing in the world. And you want to tell everybody, you don't want to be down their throat, but you want to say, hey, if you need help, God can help you. And I know he'll do it because he did it for me. And he does it every day. It's not something that you get way back here and whew, that's it. Yeah. It's an everyday thing.
And see, what I really appreciate about it, and Dave and I have known Pinball Clemens for almost most of our career, is that once you get into that subject of talking about religion, certainly, or you talk about born-again Christianity, these kinds of things, it makes people feel very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But if you meet a Michael Clemens, he's never once, as they say, witnessed to me. He's never, ever since and Dave, unless you've seen something.
Awesome.
It's by example,
Nice.
which is what you're doing.
Thank you.
Is the example. But I still would think, when you go through something that you battle every day, that do you question yourself? Do you think, is there still the part of that illness that you have to fight in order to do this?
I have to be 100% honest. It is a battle. at times and at days you just don't even want to get out of bed, let alone go to work and then put on a smile and do your thing, but that I know everybody has their own, as my mom calls it, a bag of rocks to carry around with them. And this is my particular bag of rocks. Doesn't make me unique from anybody else, but I'm just proud to say that I pick it up and I go every day, and that's a good thing.
You mentioned something earlier that I kind of wanted to touch on. So when you met with the doctor originally, and you said there was a time where the prescription was made out, but there was that fine-tuning period. Can you take us through that and how that exactly works if there's somebody listening to this today and watching and figuring that out? Because it's not just, this will work, Esther.
No.
Take that. Like how did that process work, and how long was that adjustment to that?
Okay, excellent question. It is a challenge for the doctor and the patient, both.
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Their chemistry, their body, everything. What they put in, everything. So I started on many different doses of lithium when I started. And, they were jacked way high, and then they were low. And in the interim, you're sick. You have, physical problems, down, up, everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. You get headaches. And then you're trying this for 2 or 3 weeks before you see, okay, this isn't working.
Exactly.
Right? And then you're given another dosage, and you're going to try that for 2 or 3 weeks. Mine took over 6 months of it was awful. I mean, when I quit smoking and drinking on the same day, I had all kinds of detoxification to go through. It was resembling that.
Right.
And it's not pleasant, and I'm not trying to deter people from getting help. But when you actually battle through all of that, there's so much satisfaction to know that, you made it through. This medication works, and I've been on it for 18 years, and it saves my life. So, a lot of people with bipolar don't want to take their medication because they think, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm fine.
Right.
But I can promise you, you're not fine. Your racing thoughts and, grandiose thoughts of yourself will come back, and you'll do nutty things that are not beneficial. So stick with the medication. I mean, I'm a believer in it, and I do it every day. So, that's just the discipline of, if you're an athlete, you have to work out and do everything that you can to be the best you can be. This is my athletic workout. Taking my medication, seeing my doctor every 6 months, talking to friends, having people around me that support me and believe in me. Because, excellent question. It's very hard to get out of bed some days, but you just do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Esther Herbert in studio with us today on rawmikerichards.com. Those watching on the website and the dedicated YouTube channel. A much more serious topic than what we normally have. And if you've just joined us live, Dave, it's one that I think one of the major characteristics I'm guessing when you have to fight your understanding of whatever it is that you feel emotionally going on in your head is the deception, is the hiding. So I would think, if for those listening right now, or for those that might think that a brother, a son, a wife, a daughter, what are they looking for? What are the kinds of things that you would tell them today that if you see blank, what are the suspicions? What are some of the tendencies? What do you look for?
Well, I would have to say, if you have just abnormal behavior in any kind. So yes, of course, teenagers are teenagers, for instance, but I mean, if they're overly reclusive, if they cut off their friends that they used to just associate with so much and say, okay, I don't want to do anything with them, or loud music, and that's all they're doing, that's it. They don't have any other interests, grades go down, all of those things, then you think maybe they need an assessment. I didn't have that as a teenager. I just tried my very best with whatever I didn't even know what I had. Right. So, I mean, looking back, it's easy to talk about it, but during, it was horrible experience, Went off to university and had a lot of problems there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not anything that I would want for anybody. So if they can get help early, parents need to be really in tune with social media, what they're saying on social media, because they could be saying some very dark things, and parents are like, oh, Bobby's fine. No, he's not.
That's a really great point. We talked about some of these issues yesterday with Joe Juris, a elementary school principal, about the issues of social media. It's tough enough being a teenager or a young kid, but then when you have everybody putting on their best picture, their best moment, the best meal, the best everything, you probably start to feel I said, just disenfranchised. You know, you start to feel like there's that separation that, as bad enough as you were feeling, now maybe you feel really bad because everyone else seems to have a better life than you. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think it's a little dangerous. I think social media, you know, where you see issues now where, you know, kids are coming to school with guns. Yeah. And I used to say south of the border. I no longer can say that. Sadly, it is a common occurrence. And Dave and I talk about this all the time. And you just wonder, even with the issue on the Danforth, where the first thing he came up was this battle that he had with mental illness. And I think sometimes, I'd say more specifically maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we're starting to understand because people like yourself are talking about it.
Good.
And it is very, very important. So in goals for yourself, which are, I would think at this point, what is the goal? What if Esther Herbert looks at herself and says, okay, here's what I think I need to do. Here's what I want to do. What would that be for you?
Oh, Mike. I love the question.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would have to say that my goal is to spread this news, that you can get help, that you can overcome any mental illness. You can become a contributing member. You know, you can have a job. You can flourish. You know, there's no end to it because, you know, you're a human being like anybody else. You know, the stigma is so high and so large, even though the discussion has started. But I want to be a person that keeps the discussion going. I always equate it to a huge wall, and it's made by bricks of stigma. And I want to be a person that'll take down it brick by brick, because that is so huge. And if I can encourage anyone to get help, I'm so excited. What an honor to do that. And if anybody wants to hear my story, I'm happy to tell it because I've kept quiet for so long. I'm just ready to just burst to anybody.
So if and you're watching this now and you want to reach Esther to speak at a function, a night, hospitals, Dave does a lot of that. Actually, you do a lot of that work as well.
Yep.
For fundraising or charity.
Probably not as good as Esther.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been awesome talking to you today.
Thank you, Dave.
They can do that. You have a Facebook page.
I do.
Right? And
Yes.
is it just simply your name?
Esther Herbert. Yes, exactly. And then I'll be posting this on there as well.
Yes.
You know, definitely this is a huge venue and I'm very excited about it. It's the biggest one I've ever spoken at. So, you know, I think the sky's the limit. You know, I walk by faith, but I also believe that, you know, God will equip you at the right time.
Right.
And so whatever situation comes up, somebody calls and says, I need you to do this, I'll be ready.
Well, they couldn't find anyone better. I mean, this is the first time that
Agreed.
Dave has met my
Yep.
childhood friend, and you've always been very, very special. But even more so now, I think your close friends are very proud of you. I know I certainly am. I know your mom is just glowing, just about as difficult as that sounds under the circumstance, but your reaction to it. That is what is special, but you've always been special. So thank you,
so
my friend, for
much.
coming in.
Oh, Dave, nice.
That is the one and only Esther Herbert. I'm telling you, there's not a lot of those.
What? We just become best friends?
Yep.